Dear.
She's here,
Doris Dear.
It's Doris with a cocktail in hand. She's the perfect housewife. This one might have a man.
Well, maybe.
It's Doris and her dear friends. They live up in the sky, but for the chance to sing and dance, her friends might also buy. It's Doris. It's Doris Dear. She's that girl on the street. She'll show up with a sweet. You'll adore when she knocks on your door. There's her fun. It's Doris Dear's Girl Talk.
Welcome back to Doris Dear's Girl Talk. Now, today in the Rumpus Room, it's going to get very steamy because we dig in deep with Helen Gurley Brown's Marvy album, Lessons in Love from 1962. Now, this album was an addendum to her bestseller, Sex and the Single Girl. And let me tell you, it's a doozy, full of advice. Oh, and today we go with some of the rules from her track entitled Getting a Girl to the Brink. Take it away, Helen.
Rule 4, let's say you're alone with her on a date. Forget the success stories. When you tell a girl that dozens of other dazzlers are clawing and scratching to get to you, she knows you're lying. You can hardly go wrong not talking to her much about other girls at all. Rule 5, don't be a caveman. Now, how many times do you have to be told that brute force is not sexy? It might get her into bed, but it won't help her enjoy herself once she gets there.
Well, I may know a few. Never mind. Continue, Helen.
That, my friend, is what might get you asked back. Rule 6, woo her physically. Keep in very close touch with her. It's the patting and the petting and the kissing and the actual loving that put her in the mood.
Ooh.
Telling her your sexy fantasies may make you absolutely climb the walls, but holding her hand a long time will probably do more for her.
Why do I feel I'm in that 50 Shades of Grey movie?
Rule 7, act confident, even if you aren't. If she thinks you know what you're doing, even if she doesn't know what she's doing, it helps. One man I know, when he's sure conditions are right, takes over like a father. He just tells the girl, now, let's get out of this dress, darling. Here, let me take your shoes. And, well, pretty soon she's doing everything he says.
Oh, well, I need a drink after that. I feel like I just had the hottest date of my life. You know, that Helen Gurley Brown must have had some sex life. Or do we think it's a case of those that talk about it rarely have it? And can we discuss just for a moment gender? I know. I mean, people love dividing what they like to think was only two genders with a very hard, thick line. See what I did there? I mean, men were men, women were women. That was the constant excuse from very bad behaviors. Today, thank God, we're more open to people being who they want to be and hopefully being accepted as that. And we don't accept misogynistic behavior as okay. Do you hear me? We stand up for the rights of others. Thank God. Oh, I can't wait for the next episode to see what else she has to say. Remember, you can find all the information on this episode at dorisdear.com/girl, GURL-talk. Oh, who could that be?
Doris, where are you?
I know, you already saw my interview with Gabrielle Carteris. Well, we had so much to talk about that we decided that this one was going to be a two-part interview. So sit back and enjoy. And as an added bonus, I'm doing a special cocktail recipe after the interview. So enjoy part 2 of my interview with Gabrielle Carteris. Okay, we're going to move on to something.
Oh, God, he's killing me.
This is where we really got to know each other.
Oh.
And it's some of my proudest moments.
It's a long time ago.
I know, right? And it was very emotional for me because I got involved more with the union than before because I'm not young. And I don't want those young kids to have to deal with the BS that we had.
People don't know your work. I mean, the work that you've done in the union to make the lives of artists better, fighting for inclusion and fighting for the right to work with pride and dignity, that is challenging day in and day out. And you have been such a stellar warrior.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, truly. When the Harvey Weinstein stuff came up, and we did a whole thing, we created a committee that was dealing with these issues, and Doris Day was right there, really right in the conversation, saying this is not just about women, this is about people, this is about men and women and all the spectrum, right? Everything that's there, and that we cannot let one voice be not heard. That was not one voice not heard, and that is true. That is a true leader, a true heart, and really makes a difference.
Well, you made a big difference. I mean, you took over when we lost the amazing Ken Howard, who I just saw 1776 on Broadway, and all I could think of was Ken Howard, both in the Broadway show and in the movie, and he's so beautiful, and I know his wife. We're still very good friends, and I remember sitting at the bar with Ken, and his wife had come to the hotel to pick him up, and she called him and she said, I'm outside, and he said, well, I'm sitting with this very beautiful woman right now, and you're just gonna have to wait. And all of a sudden she marches in the lobby. Okay, I get it. And she walked.
Ken was fabulous, and Linda is fabulous.
Yeah, they're both so amazing, so amazing. So tell me about your time. I mean, obviously I didn't realize you have been involved since a very young age in standing up for what's right and getting involved in politics and doing mime as a political movement. Right. I mean, so...
Prelude to the presidency.
The prelude. There's our special. The prelude to the presidency. Here we are with beautiful Madam President. She's going to mime out of that box today. So tell me about that time for you, and what I mean, look, this is not an easy position. Being in a higher rank in a union is a very hard job. I mean, people don't realize there's a lot of politics. Mm-hmm. And by the way, let's clear something up right now. When you are president, vice president, secretary, you are not paid to have that position.
It's free.
This is a non-paying position. Let's just get that straight. It doesn't mean that the union doesn't pay for you to travel to do political activism, to go and fight for rights, but it is not a paid position. No. So let's get that straight. So, and it takes over your life, which I'm sure you well know. So tell me about what propelled you to say, that's where I want to reach for.
Never wanted to.
Never.
I didn't. If I say it was not a dust particle in my brain to think about. Years ago, in 2007, I guess it was, or 2008, I was partially paralyzed shooting a movie. And,
That's right. You had that huge accident.
Well, it wasn't an accident. It was negligence, right? Yeah. And I was injured, and I lost my ability to speak. I had a lot of physical stuff. I was at UCLA. I mean, I stopped working, so just couldn't work anymore. I couldn't talk. I was in a lot of distress. And so at that time, though, I was asked to come and sit before we had merged our unions to be on the board of AFTRA in LA. I didn't even know that members did that. I didn't know that. Yeah. I thought, the union does our contracts. I didn't understand there's like a board and members are involved and there's leadership. I didn't understand any of that because I was a working actor who wasn't engaged with that. Right. The hardest thing about the union is that people, when you're really working, you're not thinking. We don't know how to reach people to say, you know what, you have a voice in this process. But I just thought, this is what I do, and I liked what my job, was, and whatever. And so I sat in, and then I was there. Of course, once they hook you in, you'll hear that they reel you in. Oh yeah, right? They just they got the hook there, and so I got involved, and I started seeing the divisions. I worked both contracts, after contracts from the talk show to, radio, and then I did TV, and I did film, and so I had done all of the in-betweens. I didn't understand why I had 2 unions that I had to pay 2 dues, and I saw people struggling just to make their insurance because, their earnings were split, so they weren't making enough in either, but they were making enough to make a living. It was just a weird kind of thing. And I met a group of people who are very similar minded. I became the local president in Los Angeles for AFTRA. Then I ran for the national board in SAG, Screen Actors Guild. And then I came to be with a group of people who wanted to merge the 2 unions. And it's very hard for people to change. Oh my God.
Yes.
Very hard for people to...
And the work that it takes to first get the approval from the union to do that, and then the work that follows is years. God. It's still, we're still
in it. You're absolutely right. So I literally traveled the country with other members, and we started to have town halls and conversations. What would you envision a merged union looking like? What is it? What would you want your voice to say? What is it? How do you want? And so we really established something. They had like 6 attempts before that.
Right, I remember.
And then Ken was president. We brought him into the presidency, and he was just the perfect president for the time. He had that respect, but the vision, and he really could see the big picture, because you have to be able to see the big picture. You can't be bogged down just with your stuff, right? And we merged the union. I remember the day that we announced it, and it was like, everybody said we did it, and I said, oh, you're kidding, the work just began. Yeah. You guys, we haven't done anything yet. And so then the new union, I was the executive vice president to Ken. And then I only did that, I wasn't going to, but we had a facilitator who helped us with the merger. And she had said to me, Gabrielle, what do you see as next steps? I said, I'm finished. I've done my service. And she said, oh, no. She said, if you want this union to stabilize and to be able to survive, you have to commit to the next 5 years. Everybody will have to, and you have to. And I was like, really, 5 years?
That's when you have another drink.
Oh, my God. 5 years. I was already there. Okay. So anyway, so I did. And then, and during that process, Ken and I became really close, and then he got sick, and I was doing the negotiations. I was running the negotiations here in New York for commercials, and they pulled me out of the room and they said Ken had passed, and then I became, the de facto president, and then I was elected to the presidency, and I did it for 5.5 years.
Yeah, so that was 2.5 terms total.
Yeah, it was a little longer. So he died, I guess, 3 months into his...
Right.
3 months into it.
2 3/4. Yeah.
And so, so I did... So it's almost 3 terms I did. Yeah. And then, oh my God. Anyway, it's hard. I do not think that... first of all, it's an incredible honor to be of service. There is nothing, I believe...
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that we all can be of service, and that was a great place for it. I learned about me in a way I never would have discovered, and I feel like I learned from people, and it helped me to be a better me, and to learn how to even deal with my issues when I wanted to negotiate, when I did 90210. This is the deal. This is how it works, and it was good. I felt I had a voice, but
right. Well, I always, when I'm sitting in meetings, my argument is always, we're always talking about things we need to do, and it always, for me, boils down to empowering the artists to feel that they have a voice, because we don't feel that we're empowered. No. And I will say that during your presidency and during Kent, for me, it empowered me to stand up, and I did stand up on sets, and I did close down a set once.
That's
because it's just,
too.
And people would say, I can't believe you did that, you'll never work again. I was like, what? You think some PA who checks you in, who says you'll never work, you think that's going to happen? It's not. If you're talent, if you're there, whatever, whether it's background, secondary, lead roles, whatever, you don't listen to that. Don't let that voice in.
No.
And it's always about, for me, trying to empower the actors and the other artists in our union, no matter what union or what they're doing, to feel that they need to feel seen and heard.
Right.
And
we as human beings need that,
yes,
right?
Yes.
But I think one of the mistakes that artists make sometimes, and I think they forget it's also a business. We are artists. But I think
it's commercial.
Right. That's a commercial. So when you go into like negotiations and people are like, I can't, this is a business. So you gotta say what it is you need. You have to hear what the other side needs, and you have to see if you can come to a place.
Right.
And it's if you're gonna go and think that you're gonna win the day by being emotional, you've lost so much of your power.
Right.
That you have to put it aside and you have to really think about it and be strategic. And I think that's it's not selling yourself out to do that. I mean, there's a real power to that. So anyway.
Yeah, and when you're dealing with Producers Guild and stuff who are literally about money.
Right. DGA.
And I mean.
The studios, they're not going to, I deserve, you got to give me. They're going to say, go home, you need help, whatever. But if I can say, look, I've been doing this, you saw this is the show I did, that was the success of it, this is what I deserve. And if you can say it with that kind of, you're going to be much more powerful, I think.
I will say my work at the union helped me discover that I could actually negotiate.
Yeah.
That I could be a voice in the room bring people back to the center. Who knew? Me? That's crazy. I think, how did I come home, I go, Jim, I don't know how that happened.
That's right.
I can't tell you what happened.
Right?
Can't tell you what happened because that's a closed door. But
I can tell you something happened.
I can tell you something happened, and I became the voice of reason.
Yeah.
Isn't
that great, though?
And that, again.
You discovered a part of yourself.
Absolutely. So, what's now? What's going on now? Now you have your daughters are in college. One's in art.
They're out now.
They're out. And
there's so much going on. Well, I'm the president of FIA. So that's the International Federation of Actors. I represent actors all over the world. I just came back from Europe. It is an incredible honor. It's, I have to say, artists all over the world, people all over the world are suffering right now.
Yeah.
So if we could all, pray for that, pray for what's going on. But it's very humbling, very interesting. So just came back, we're a global industry. Right, so it's important for us to all be sharing information. It's important for us to not to think we're all that, because we're not all that. We are all of that together.
Right.
And so that's been great. In the meantime, the day I announced that I wasn't gonna run for president of SAG-AFTRA was the day I started working again. So that was great for me, and because I love to be able to act.
Sure.
And it does take a lot of time to be the president of SAG-AFTRA. I would wake up at early in the morning, do East Coast calls, and we'd work till midnight. And during the time of COVID, we were working every weekend, everything just to get the business open so people could work and be safer.
Oh, that was a tough time. Oof.
But then in the interim, I have a daughter who's in Paris today. She's an artist, and she's... they're showing, somebody just offered to buy a big piece of hers, so I'm excited for her. I have another daughter who's in Ireland right now, and she's on a work permit. She's there with her boyfriend who's from Ireland. So she was an au pair during the, pandemic. She took a semester off, and she met him, and he came back out here. So she's there now, and I hope she moves back here. But, so they're doing great. I mean, God bless them, really living their best selves.
Great.
It's great.
You're a proud mama.
I'm really at peace with all that. I'm very happy.
Well, I think that deserves a cheers. I think that's a great moment to say thank you for coming into the Rumpus Room and sharing all of you with our audience and me. You've shared so much with me over the years, and I really appreciate it. So, cheers. Here's to you, my darling.
To you, my darling.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
It's Doris Dear's Bar Cart.
Welcome to the Bar Cart, the place where we make the cocktails we serve in the Rumpus Room. Now today we enjoy a gimlet, a cocktail made of gin and lime cordial. Now a 1928 description of the drink was gin and a spot of lime. A description in the 1953 popular best-selling Raymond Chandler novel, The Long Goodbye, his sixth novel featuring the private investigator Philip Marlowe, stated that, quote, a real gimlet is half gin and half Rose's lime juice and nothing else, end quote. Once again, we come across different stories as to how the drink got its name. The most obvious derivation is from the tool for drilling small holes, a word also figuratively to describe something as sharp and piercing. Wait, we're still talking about a drink, right? Thus, the cocktail may have been named for its penetrating effects on the drinker. Woo. I feel like I just had a bad date. Now, the other story goes that the drink was named after the British Royal Navy surgeon, Rear Admiral Sir Thomas Gimlet, who allegedly introduced this drink as a means for inducing his messmates to take lime juice as an anti-scurvy medication. However, neither his obituary nor his entry into Who Was Who mentioned this association. But for me, well, I think this is the most believable one, since there's proven history that the troops regularly partook in gin drinking. And what better way to stop the scurvy? And now I present to you the version I enjoy, which is a variation from my go-to Bible of cocktails, the rare and hard-to-find Esquire Drink Book. Ladies and gentlemen, the Doris Dear Gimlet. We take 3 ounces of gin. Now I'm using Tanqueray, one of my favorites. And that's 3 ounces. And to that we add 1 ounce of sweetened lime juice, like Rosie's lime juice. Now, you could add half of that plus fresh lime juice. Now we shake that up and get it nice and cold. And then we're going to pour into a coupe glass, fancy, and garnish it with a fresh lime wedge. I should have poured a little heavier on that one. Enjoy. Ooh, that smells good. Well, I hope you enjoyed your stay in the Rumpus Room today. You know, I love when friends drop by and we share some fun ideas and bring some joy to the world. Now, don't forget, you can go to www.dorisdear.com/Gurl, Gurl-talk, for all of the recipes and tips and tricks that we talked about today. And remember, a dress doesn't get you anywhere. It's the life you live in the dress that matters. We'll see you soon. Cheers! Here's to no more scurvy. Ahoy, mateys.
Doris, it's Doris Dear. She's a glamorous gal, she'll become your best pal when she's here.
Who's here?
She's here,
Doris Dear.
It's Doris, with a cocktail in hand. She's the perfect housewife, you're up this room, I have a man.
Yeah, maybe.
It's Doris and her dear friends. They live up in the sky, but for the chance to sing and dance, her friends might also buy. It's Doris. It's Doris Dear. She's that girl on the street. She'll show up with a sweet. You'll adore when she knocks on your door.